The last touch instrument I want to look at in this chapter is the sampler. In a nutshell, the sampler allows you to record a snippet of audio and then play it back using keyboard controls. I'll tap to open the sampler. Now by default, the sampler uses your iPad's built-in mic. If you look at this large illustration at the bottom here, it tells me I'm going to record a sound using the iPad microphone. It even helpfully tells me where the microphone is on the iPad. Now just so you can see how this works, the sampler will detect other inputs. Right here I have the Apogee Jam. Normally it's used for recording guitar. So I could use this with the sampler if I wanted to record maybe a snippet of guitar. If I plug that in, you'll see the illustration is now changed to show me that I'm going to be recording from the USB input. So the sampler will automatically detect if you have a third-party input accessory attached. But in this case, I'll just use the microphone, so I'm going to unplug that. And the way this works is very easy. I just tap the big honkin' start button here, and then I just start recording. Everything is in motion. And when I'm done, I tap stop. And what you see here is a waveform representing everything the iPad recorded as I was talking. Now if I tap a key, and then I just start recording. Everything is in motion. And when I'm done, so it actually captured everything that I was saying once I hit the record button, as it should. Now obviously I don't want to use all of that, so I can use these trim handles on either side of the waveform to drag that in to select just the waveform that I want to keep. Notice if I hold down on the edge, it actually expands so I can get really tight to the beginning of that waveform. And now when I play a key, everything is in motion. I can hear just the part that I kept. Now you'll notice that I'm playing middle C. Everything is in motion. If you want to hear the sample you played as you recorded it, middle C is going to give you the actual sample. Everything is in motion. Anything else you play will either pitch it up or pitch it down.
Everything is in motion.
Everything is in motion.
And there's nothing saying that you have to hold down the key for the entire length of your sample. I could just tap the key.
Everything is in motion.
To get that sort of effect. Now, when you record a sample, it gets added to the library in the particular song you're working in. I'm going to tap My Sample 1, which is the name of the sample I just recorded. You can see it's listed here under this song. It's not listed here under the library. The library is a collection of sounds that are available to all the songs that you're working on. First of all, let me rename this. It currently says My Sample 1. With it selected, I'll tap Rename. I'll just call this Motion. So now I have a sample called Motion in this particular song. Everything is in motion. Now, if I wanted to, I could select any of the other samples in here. If you need those kind of samples in the project you're working on. But if you want the sample you recorded available in other projects, you have to save it to the library. So I'll select it, and then I'll tap Add to Library. Now it's going to ask me to name it again, so I'll just call it Motion again. Tap Done, and you can see now it's been added to my library, meaning it's now going to be available for all the projects that I use the sampler in. And you've probably noticed I have the same controls that were available when I was working with the keyboard touch instrument. I've got the octave controls, I can turn sustain on and off, I can adjust whether I get glissando,
Everything is in motion.
or if it scrolls,
Everything is in motion.
or if I want to work with pitch.
Everything
Is in motion. Now, if at any time I want to record additional samples for this song, all I have to do is tap New Sample. I get the record button again, and I can record another sample. Or I can go back to My Samples. Maybe I want to continue editing this one. I'll tap the little arrow next to its name. So I can still see the trim adjustments that I made. Notice that it does keep the entire waveform though, so it does remember everything I recorded in case I want to re-add some of those sections in later. Now, in addition to trimming, we have other buttons like reverse, so if I want to hear it backwards. We also have a loop button. Let me turn off reverse. Loop allows you to hear the clip over and over again as long as you hold down the key. Everything is in motion. Everything is in motion. Everything is in motion. Actually, let me turn this back to glissando. I'll turn off loop. Now we also have the ability to tune our samples. Now this isn't great for a sample like this where it's a spoken word sample, but if you've captured somebody singing a note, for example, you might want to tune them so they fit the pitch of your song. So you can use the coarse tuning to do broader adjustments or fine tune it with this slider. And if you play a note, everything is in motion.
Everything is in motion.
The sampler will actually play a tone so you know what note you're adjusting towards. We also have a shape setting, and shape adjusts the loudness of your sample over time. By default, your sample is at its loudest when it comes in, stays level, and then it drops quickly off. Everything is in motion. If I wanted it to gradually fade in a little bit more, I might move this first point over to the right a bit. And you'll hear it fade in a little bit more. Everything is in motion. And then drop off. So I can adjust any of these points. If I wanted more of a steep drop off, I could do that. Everything is in motion. So you can play around with the shape of your sample.
Everything is in motion.
If at any time you want to just start over again from scratch, just tap the revert button, and it'll go back to the original setting here, so you don't have to worry about manually resetting the shape. Lastly, if you want to delete a sample either from the song or from your library, just select it, then tap the delete key. Then you can also tap other samples you might want to get rid of. Maybe I want to get rid of this sample entirely from both this song and from my library. Then tap delete. It's going to ask me, am I sure I want to delete these two samples because this is permanent and I won't be able to undo it. So I'll tap delete. So you can see I no longer have any samples in this particular song, so I might want to go to New Sample and record a new sample. So that's the sampler. It's kind of a unique instrument to have available in GarageBand. You might not use it all the time, but it's nice to know that it's there, and if you need it, you can pull it up and start recording some samples.